By now, you should have already made up your mind whether or not analytic functions are for you based on the example I presented in a previous lesson. I demonstrated the usefulness of just one of these functions compared to native SQL. Let's now look at the anatomy or the syntax of an analytic function. Analytic functions take the following syntax. Function name, which takes some arguments, over, partition by clause, order by clause, and a windowing clause. Where the function name specifies the name of some function, it could be sum, average, rank, variance, and many more functions that we are going to explore in this course. This function can take one or more arguments, and these arguments can be a column in your table or can be an expression. We'll be spending a fair amount of time during this course looking at some of the functions that are built into Oracle and how they can answer business questions. Then, we have the keyword over, which is the keyword that makes or defines these functions as an analytic function. As we mentioned before, functions like sum and average are seen every day as aggregate functions, but once you pass the over keyword to these functions, they cease to be simple aggregate functions and instead become analytic functions. So whenever you see the keyword over in a statement in SQL, that is an indication that the statement is using an analytic function. The meaning of the word over in this statement is pretty straightforward. It tells Oracle to apply the function, in this case it could be sum, over some chunk of data. And in the course of this lesson, we are going to explore how we define that chunk of data. So it simply tells Oracle, take whatever function I have defined here and apply it over some chunk of data. Now the over keyword has three different clauses that can be passed into it. There's a partition by clause, there's an order by clause, and there's a windowing clause. These clauses are optional and you can use them in combination or as standalones. And we are going to look at some of the examples where you can actually combine some of these clauses. In fact, if you remember our running totals example that we did here, we actually used the over keyword within that function. And within that order keyword, we passed in an order by clause. And this gave us the running totals. So we are going to see exactly what each of these means. So let's look at each of these clauses one by one and understand exactly what each of them does within an analytic function.